Hey, what's going on, everybody? Mic check 1 2 3. Got an error message on my screen, but I think we're live, so I'm going to keep going. Welcome back. It's Wednesday. It's DOT Compliance, and we're live with your DOT guy, Brian Riker. What we want you to do is go ahead and jump in the live chat. I'm going to move it along today because we have several things to get to. Do remember, you can click share, click copy, grab that YouTube link. We didn't do a show last week, so we have extra on our plate, and Brian has to go at time. So let's go ahead and get to Brian. Remember, put in the live chat your DOT questions, FMCSA, IRP. Are you starting a business? Do you have equipment questions? Have you been put out of service? Seen some of those lately. Or how about this one? Have you seen an advertisement that you are going to make this much money a week with your pickup truck? No problem. Okay, we're gonna cover that. Let's bring in Brian because we got to talk about this stuff. We got to help. We're here to help. Brian, can you see me and hear me? Okay.
Yes, I can, Jay. And I was actually just checking the live stream. You are up and live here in Pennsylvania.
Cool. Yeah, I did. I don't know what it was. It said live stream can't be created. Like, okay, well, great. So what button do I hit for that? All right, but we're here. We're live. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to share the screen. And, as normal, we bet you can't stump your DOT guy, Brian. Thank you, David. And David is in the live chat. Shout out, David. And here's why we bet it. You know why we bet it? Brian, congratulations. After 12 years of hard work building my compliance firm, Brian says, with incredible growth past 4 years, pleased to announce that Fleet Compliance Solutions is now an official associate member of the Commercial Vehicle Safety Alliance. Brian, what does that mean for you and your business?
It means I now have direct access to the agency, the alliance, that trains, certifies motor carrier enforcement officers, the folks that come out and do the audits at your office, the roadside inspections, and the state and federal law partners that create these regulations. We get together, we meet. I'm eligible when there's some openings to be on some of their conferences and committees, and I have the same references and resources that the officers have. I can actually go take some of the officer training classes, which gives me an even deeper insight to how they're thinking and what their priorities, their hot spots are going to be for the year. So it's like having the inside information from the other team.
That is awesome. And we appreciate, and we're glad to hear that. I mean, that is the level of credibility that we have here. It's really cool. So thank you, Brian. And also, I know this is a live show for opinion, information, and advice, right? If you want, what's the differentiation there? If you need real help, contact Brian. If you're looking for advice of how to handle something, you can tune into this show, but this is not a legal. What's that legal clarification?
The disclaimer would be, This is not legal advice. This is the opinion of the host. For actual binding legal advice, we need the details of your specific situation. So please contact the competent person of your choosing, which may be me, Brian, at YourDOTGuy.com, or on air at YourDOTGuy.com, or it may be another company or even an attorney, and I may even need to refer you to an attorney because I am not a practicing attorney. So some of these questions are beyond where I am allowed to provide binding advice, but I can give you some general advice here.
Perfect. Thank you, Brian. All right, so here we go. Let's move forward and see what we got next. For example, this one came up. Vistaga, he owns his car. He's a carrier. Is it legal or illegal to post it on a load board to be dispatched to another carrier to move the car if he doesn't have a broker's license?
There's a couple of things to consider here. If he owns the car in his own personal name and he can post it on the load board in his own personal name, not his trucking company name, then there is nothing wrong with that. That's no different than a dealer listing a car on a load board. However, if it's owned in the business name and he has to post it in the business name, then someone could say it's on the dark side of the gray area of carriers acting as a broker. So in this case, it's going to depend on whose name's on the title and does he have access to the load board as Mr. Vistaga personally, or does it have to only access through Vistaga Transportation or whatever his company name would happen to be.
And I think this gets into where Ty talks about how can dealers post their cars if they don't have a broker's license?
Because they're not brokering. A broker arranges transportation between two or more parties for freight that the broker does not own. You can directly post your own loads or make direct arrangements. That would be like saying we need a broker to get involved when you go down to the local Chevy dealer, shake the inventory manager's hand and agree to move all his cars from the auction for him. No broker needed. That's a direct party-to-party transaction. The only place a broker authority is required is when the parties making the transaction do not own the freight that is being handled.
Somewhere there's a lobbyist going, I like this. Let's make this a law.
Okay. Oh, I guarantee you TIA would love to have their hands in these private party transactions.
Brian comes out. All right, cool. With fists a-flying. Okay. All right, TIA. All right, let's move on. So, that's a good one. Thank you, Brian. I love these questions of clarification. And we got a couple questions in the live chat. We're going to go there. But I like this. This was posted on Instagram. Brian, help us out.
This one's been floating around. I commented on a couple of different Facebook threads with this same image. So, yes, the vehicle up top, depending on how it's used, generally does not require any special license to operate it. For those of you in Podcastlandia, the vehicle up top is a large motorhome towing a 3-axle enclosed trailer behind it. In most states, you can drive that with your regular operator license, even when it has air brakes, even with the trailer. There are a handful of states that would require a non-commercial Class A license to operate this combination. But again, non-commercial, provided there's no business purpose to this whatsoever. Now, if that same coach is being used by a traveling musician or a traveling athlete that is getting sponsorship or paid to be there, now that would be a CDL required vehicle. Or if I were to move that for the dealer, say, pick that up to manufacturer, bring it to the dealer lot, you would need the appropriate CDL fuel tax, so if the decals, whole 9 yards to move it. Now, in the other truck, CDL required, we have a picture of a dually towing a small tag-along equipment trailer with a skid steer loaded on it that most likely is over the threshold to require a Class A CDL. And the comparison they're trying to make is the little guy, the landscaper that's just trying to make a living with his pickup truck moving a machine around, has a bunch of regulations to jump through. But Grandpa, who just retired from IBM and has never driven anything bigger than his Toyota, can jump in that big RV and run all across the country, and it's not fair. And I will agree it's not fair. I wish that the states, like my home state of Pennsylvania, which have non-commercial Class A and B licenses, actually enforced that rule. And I wish that we had the Class A, B, C license and training requirements, regardless of whether it was CDL or not. Just
awesome. You gave your opinion. That's what I was looking for. I wanted to know what you thought. Let's do a couple in the live chat. Okay, so we've got David at Two Bears on IRP renewal. Do I just add up my year's miles on the last 2290? On IRP, does that make sense?
Yes. Short answer, yes. your IRP, your mileages all have to agree with each other. So whatever you're reporting to the states for your individual state mileage on your IRP, better match your IFTA reported miles for the same states, because that's how they audit each other, is looking at those. And then the total miles you've operated your truck would be the same. So all three places, your numbers need to add up to the same total, and then the same breakaway for your states, with the exception of the states that give you credit on fuel tax, like Massachusetts, for running the toll road, or when you're reporting like New York highway use tax and you get credit for running the thruway. That's the only time your reported from actual miles can vary. Hopefully that makes sense.
Moving on, and like I said, and thank you guys for joining us. We're already 10 minutes into the show. We've got questions happening in the live chat. We got more stuff to talk about with Brian. We got to let him go in 20 minutes or less. So here we go. Chris says, happy Wednesday. Question. If you have diabetes, can you get a CDL?
Yes. Used to be a very difficult process where you had to show your competence in state without doing intrastate for a couple of years. But now they have some relief for those regulations. You no longer have to get a hard to obtain waiver from the FMCSA with your in-state operation. There are certain standards. I don't have them committed to memory, but yes, short answer is it is possible now to get a interstate CDL with diabetes, provided that your diabetes is under control and you can get your primary care doctor to agree with your DOT physical doctor that it's under control and you're not at risk of a blackout behind the wheel.
Fritz asks, found out my LLC is not in good standing. What does that mean?
It means you've missed the filing requirement with your state that it is filed in. Some states it's one and done and your LLC is good forever. Other states, they want updates filed occasionally. You'll have to check with the Corporation Commission in whatever state you're based in. And if you had a service help you file it, they could help you fix it.
Man, there's no stumper today. Okay, so let's do this. Let's go back to... Got some more stuff to share. All right, so we know we love the segment How We Doing. All right, How We Doing is all about not being the next flip of the week. So, I'm just going to share a couple. This was news stories. Here's what's weird. C8 Corvette got smushed by a Maserati on a car carrier, and C8 Corvettes go up in a giant fire. What happened? What's going on?
Somebody doesn't like the Corvette.
What's going on? I just want to point out, and this is, I don't normally share car fires and bankruptcies. I don't really, that doesn't interest me. But we do see fire happens. Is this like one of the number one reasons why? This seems to happen a lot. Is it the bearings? What's going on?
It does. And in this particular fire, the carrier whose truck that was is known for using some older equipment. This particular truck, I believe, was a Sterling chassis. They haven't been manufactured since 2007. So you can just imagine how many miles were on that truck. They have a fairly decent maintenance program. Accidents, incidents happen. But this one, when you looked at all the pictures on this particular one, the fire obviously started on the car hauler. It wasn't the cargo that started the fire. It wasn't intentional. It wasn't the result of a crash. It was some sort of electrical or fuel system failure on the truck, most likely. And this is something you have to be concerned with because we're hauling a lot of combustible material. These newer trucks get very hot under the hood. The slightest of a fuel leak may ignite, even though diesel fuel doesn't burn easy. When it's misting out from a tiny pressurized leak in a fuel system somewhere, it's just like the injector in your engine. And electrical fires. Going into winter, you will see an increase in electrical fires. This is not winter yet, but as we go into winter, for some reason, there's a correlation between cold weather and increase in electrical fires, probably because of the extra strain on the batteries, the battery cables, the starter motor, the heater motor, etc. So now is a really good time to go through your truck, make sure all your battery cables are tight, inspect them along the frame rails, make sure they're not rubbed or chafing somewhere, check the connections on the back of your alternator, make sure they're clean and tight, and look for any signs of overheating. You can check for overheating on your electrical wires by inspecting the condition of the insulation. It should still be very soft and pliable. If you go to move that wire, especially where it's near the back of your alternator or where it connects to the battery, which is where the two biggest heat sources are, is wherever there's a connection, and you can't move it, it's really stiff or the insulation wants to crack, then you're a fire waiting to happen and you're going to want to fix it.
Man, great advice. Thank you, Brian. So let's move on to, will you start a trucking company with me? This is now a full-fledged segment because it's just nonstop. And here's a disclaimer, camera one. Apparently we have a people shortage, so yes, we can use more trucking companies. But just make sure that you got good information. And we know people, I get emails all the time, so I'm very much in favor of helping. And this, guys, thank you for your shows, all the people you have on to help people like me get smarter, not make bad choices. So I saw this. Somebody sent me this. Now, I copied the language because I don't want to share the ad. My goal here is not to embarrass anybody specifically, other than myself from time to time. But this was the language of the ad. Jumpstart your hotshot trucking career. Learn how to consistently gross $5 to $7 grand a week with a pickup truck and a trailer. I mean, if you're brand new, let's say you're at Home Depot and you read this, you are dropping the lumber, and what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
You know, for $5 or $7 grand a week, sign me up, brother.
Yeah,
let's go.
Let's do this. Exactly. It's a done deal.
This stuff annoys me. And I don't know who this one is. I've not seen the original ad. I don't care who this one is. Some people have good intentions. I have seen a couple hotshot truckers that have been wildly successful. There's one out there that just wrote a book on this, and I don't know if the method is good. I've not read the book. But unfortunately, where there's money and where there's a perceived shortage or capacity crunch comes the scams, the get rich quick schemes. The only guy probably making money with this is the author of this ad and whatever broker or dispatch service he's working with. Because sure, you're going to gross 5 to 7 per week. That's almost that's a reasonable high gross. But what are you going to net? $500 or $1,000 when you're done with everything and paying them for their secret sauce and the whole 9 yards. So bottom line, this is a difficult and complicated business, but it's not one that you need this type of jumpstart your company type of business. You're better off to do what most of the people have been doing. Watch these channels, learn, go out long before you do this, find somebody that's doing it, talk to them, go hang out at the auction lot and talk to the transporter, talk to Jay and Ty and Lionel and myself, and we'll steer you straight. That's the way it should be.
Yeah,
go ahead.
And balance sheet wise, I mean, okay, so how long is your pickup truck gonna last? What kind of DOT problems are you facing? And what other expenses do you not realize are coming your way?
Oh, there's a lot of them. First of all, pickup truck is very generic. Are we talking about an F550 dually with the proper engine and weight ratings for what you're doing? Are we talking a trailer that's properly rated? Or are we talking we're going to try to do this with a single rear wheel 2500 and pull 3 cars with it when you know damn well you're overweight? So picture in that image there, we got a 4-car trailer and a dually 550. Probably you'll get close to those numbers, the low end of those numbers, depending on where you're going. And then are we running legal? Are we running around the clock? Is this one of them that's going to tell you can do $7 grand, but you got to get 2 of your buddies to sleep in the back seat together with you at the same time? What's the deal? How do they come up with their numbers? I see the same type of ads for regular over-the-road truck drivers too to become an owner-operator, and it's misleading at best because you probably have $3 to $4 grand a week in expenses to run that truck right there on the screen.
So you're in business. Let's say you do it. Let's say somehow this works out, and you I don't know how you get 5 to 7 every week regular. Plus we're going into the winter. But let's say you pull that off. How long do you think you can stay in business doing that? What happens after a year?
After a year, you're looking to replace that wore out pickup truck because unfortunately your pickup truck does not have the same longevity of a class 7 or 8 road tractor. Class 7 and 8 road tractors are good for 700 to a million miles, 700,000 to a million. The B life on them is at least 700,000. B life is an industry term that means 80% of the units will reach at least that mark before they fail and have a critical failure. Now, we have some other major issues with diesel-powered trucks today with emissions that fail sooner. It's funny you bring this up because I'm doing a speech on maximizing vehicle use and maintenance this week in Cleveland at a live event. But so your pickup truck does not have that 700,000 to million mile life expectancy. Your pickup truck has maybe 150 to 200,000 usable miles before you're going to start seeing major system failures. So if you're putting 100 to 110,000 miles a year on that truck to gross that type of money, and you will be or more, then you're going to wear that truck out in tops 18 months. And with a new dually pickup truck today being $80,000 to $100,000 and a new class 7 or 8 road tractor only being 150 to 200, what's the better value? Get 18 months out of a little pickup truck at 100,000 or get 5 to 6 years out of a class 7 road tractor at 150,000. I'm going for the 7 years because when you amortize or divide it out over the life of the vehicle, you're paying much less per year for that bigger truck, even though it means you need a Class A CDL, a portioned registration, fuel tax, and some of the other compliance issues that come with having a full Class A combination vehicle. But in the long run, your cost per mile is what it all comes down to, because this is a penny game. We are not making dollars. We're making pennies per mile when it's all said and done. So every penny counts. So just do your numbers. It may look easy. It's easy to get into the pickup truck. Low barrier to entry because I can go buy that with my personal credit. Nobody's going to question me. I go try to buy a Class 7 tractor at the local Peterbilt dealer. They're going to want to see I've been in business, et cetera, et cetera. So I understand why we go this route. But sometimes you got to know you're throwing good money away. Are you willing to throw that money away for the first 2 or 3 years to get your company started? Or do you want to just save up that money as a company driver for another year or two, learn the industry at someone else's expense, and then buy that more cost-effective piece of equipment to run? Those are the choices you have to make.
I want to play devil's advocate here. So let's say I'm like, you know what? I'm still good with that. 5 to 7 grand a week. After a year, my truck is trash. Okay, I'm good with that. So did I do this thinking I could do this non-CDL? Was that part of the idea? Right?
I guarantee you that's part of the idea on this particular ad.
I think so too.
And that's the most common question I get. I've answered 2 of them so far this morning, and it's only 1 o'clock Eastern time. I've answered 2 this morning about non-CDL versus CDL. And it's not just the hotshot industry. I get this question in the towing industry all the time. How can I jump up to medium duty towing but not need a CDL? And the short answer is in the tow industry, you cannot.
All right, and so I'm still doing it my way. I got 5 to 7 grand a week. I'm at Home Depot. I'm leaving the lumber business. I'm gonna go do this. A year later, my truck is trashed out. I don't have a CDL. Am I gonna just do it again for another year? Am I gonna buy another pickup truck, make 5 to 7 grand a week? I'm up at night counting my cash. I don't have a CDL. Can I just do this year after year and just buy a new truck? Why not?
If you've got the stamina, go for it, brother. If you've got the stamina and the stomach for it. But it's not really that simple. You're going to find that there's compliance issues. It's not easy to load that 5 to 7 grand and be in a non-CDL vehicle because of the simple weights. A truck and a trailer, you got to be at or below 26,000 pounds. Well, your truck and your trailer together are going to eat up about 16,000 of that. So that leaves you 10,000 pounds of cargo. What's an average car weigh? 3,500 pounds. So right there, 3 little cars is all you're ever getting on that truck to stay non-CDL. I had someone ask me today about 2 ambulances. Fortunately, he's a CDL operator, so he was all right. But if that was a non-CDL fella, it would not have fit because he was looking at 22,000 pounds of payload alone. You can't get a truck and trailer for 4,000 pounds. It just doesn't happen. So again, know your niche, know your market. It isn't impossible, but it's just like the misleading ads when you go to get recruited by a trucking company. Our top driver earns $108,000. Yeah, but what's the bottom driver earn? And make an accurate apples to apples comparison. Those numbers are fantasy land, best of the best, run your butt off numbers with nothing ever going wrong.
Okay, so maybe you got my attention. Maybe. 5 to 7 grand a week. I hear you talking, but I'm thinking 5 to 7. I'm just counting my money here. 5 to 7 grand a week. All right, I've had a little bit too much fun. Camera one, we got 5 minutes left. We're talking about starting up a business. We're just trying to get real because the videos keep on coming and the ads keep on coming too. We're not going to stop anything. This is going to keep happening. So how about this? 5 to 7 grand a week. My truck is trashed. I got through non-CDL. Maybe after a year, then I think about getting a CDL and upgrading. Can I make that work?
Yes, you can. I just explained this progression to somebody earlier. If you want to test the waters, start with the non-CDL truck and trailer. It's the easiest way to get in, least expensive, lowest barrier to entry, learn the industry. Then maybe go ahead and get your Class A CDL. And even with the same truck and trailer, have your trailer re-rated to what it's actually capable of. Now you're a Class A vehicle. Get the second year of life out of your truck and trailer as a Class A operator as you learn a little bit more about the bigger part of the business. And then buy that Class 7 or 8 tractor trailer. So by year 3, you've moved up to the bigger truck. In fact, the company that I was involved with, that's exactly how my partner started. I started in the towing and salvage transport industry. He started running auction cars for Manheim with a pickup truck and non-CDL trailer. Jumped up, got his Class A license. I took him for his road test, taught him how to drive. Then we bought a Freightliner with a 7-car trailer behind it, tractor trailer. And then that led to the next one. And that was the progression we took. The whole key was knowing our limitations at the time. His first account was doing Volkswagen lease returns. You can easily do that non-CDL with a pickup truck and a trailer. By the time I was involved, we were moving the Ford account with pickup trucks and vans and specialty equipment and all that. And so then we really needed the full Class 8 tractor trailers.
Awesome. Thank you for the clarification. I appreciate it. We're going to try to do just a couple more, and then I know I got to let you go. I brought this up because it's important, right? We see it's talked about income out there, what you can make. Just make sure you double check that information. If you have any questions, contact Brian, watch this show. Just be careful and sift through the reel. Last piece here, this out of service. Did we ever get to this? I think we were on break. Remember this guy?
Let's do it again.
Okay. So my guy in Alabama put out of service for being overweight. He was pulled over for a random inspection, DOT, on a Saturday. 2021 Ram 3500, weighs 8,000 on a scale. 3-car wedge, weighs 7920 on a scale, leaving him only 10,000 pounds of weight to haul before being over. He pulls 2 vehicles on his 3-car. On his way to Texas, he had 1 vehicle, which was a 2019 Ram 1500. The other vehicle had canceled that morning. Officer pulled him over, told him the GVWR in his truck was 16K, GVWR in his trailer was 14K. He was overweight, needed a CDL in order to move, said he would be overweight even if he didn't have a vehicle on the trailer, put him out of service, said he can't move the trailer without a CDL. What's going on?
The officer is correct. I think I answered this one privately for you, not on the air. Yeah. The officer is correct because together the weight ratings exceed 26,000 pounds. So to be non-CDL, 3 things must be true unless you're based in California or Washington where they have a slightly different rule. But generally, to be non-CDL, 3 things must be true. The truck and trailer together, their weight ratings must add up to no more than 26,000 pounds. No, not 26,001, not 2650, 26,000 exactly. The weight ratings as shown on the sticker inside the driver's side door jamb in the front of your trailer. The next is the truck, the trailer, and the load must not exceed 26,000 pounds to not have a CDL requirement. And then if you're in California or Washington, the trailer cannot exceed 10,000 pounds actual or rated weight, or it is a CDL vehicle. But that's only if your driver's license is issued by the state of California or Washington. So for the rest of the world, 26 is your magic number. Doesn't matter what it's registered for. You can't downgrade the registration, but still have the stickers in the door and the trailer add up to more than 26. And you can't have the load ever exceed 26,000 pounds. And so they'll write you for an out of class and or an overweight, because the last part of this is if your truck is not properly registered, the truck must be registered for the total 26,000 pounds. Then the trailer is separately registered for what its declared weight rating is. And so if we had this happen the other day, we had a fellow who had his truck only registered at the 14,000 pounds that the GVW was in the door, and the state he was pulled over in didn't acknowledge the truck and trailer registration together. So he got an overweight ticket for the other 10,000 pounds he was above what his truck was registered for. And again, that's a legitimate citation as well.
I know we're up against the half hour. I think I need to let you go. Am I right about that?
Yes.
Well,
did you have a quick live question?
I don't. I just want to say this is that I think, here's what I think, Brian. I think somehow we need to find a way to advertise. Are you sitting at the inspection station out of service? You need to call Brian. Because this is not going to stop.
No.
And this is the one place where you can come and get actual information rather than, just you're going to get rich and it's easy and, whatever. Got a pickup sitting out back, jump in it and make $5 to $7 grand a week.
If it was easy, everyone would be renting a truck from Enterprise and doing this.
Well, you might be onto something. Brian, thank you so much for your advice today, and we will see you next Wednesday.
I will be here next Wednesday, and next Wednesday I should have time to do a slightly extended show if we need to.
Okay, cool, because I got extra stuff, so we'll put that on the back end. Everybody jump into the live chat with your questions. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate you. Brian, have a great day, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Please join us tomorrow on Dispatching Live at noon for load board search advice and good times. See you, everybody.